Hello, everyone. My name is Carl, and today I'll be talking about Mega Man X Legacy Collection 1 and 2. This game was developed by Capcom and published by Capcom for the Switch on July 24th, 2018. It'll run you $19.99 for the first Legacy Collection and $19.99 for the second one. I'm honestly not sure how much they are together, like the regular Mega Man Legacy Collection 1 and 2. I bought them together, but I don't think they sell them together anymore. I don't know. Regardless, the first one's physical. You can buy physical or digital. The second one um, is only digital. Literally, it just came with a download code for X Legacy Collection 2. So even though I have the case, I had to download it. It's rated T for teen for blood, cartoon violence, and mild suggestive themes. And in this game, you will find all 8 Mega Man X series games, which is a sequel to the Mega Man series. Mega Man X 1 through 4 in the first one, and Mega Man X 5 through 8 in the second one. All 8 of them. So, essentially, in these games, it's set many years after the Mega Man games. Dr. Light, the creator of the original Mega Man, creates a new kind of robot named X called a Reploid. And these Reploids are supposedly supposed to be able to think and feel on their own, make their own choices, and they're kind of designed to be citizens alongside other people versus in Mega Man when they were just like designed to help help people and be like servants and kind of. So anyway, Dr. Light puts X into this diagnostics pod to make sure, okay, I'm making artificial intelligence. It's not going to go crazy and kill everybody. He seals it away, and then it sits there. He sits there and stews for like decades and decades and decades, way longer. Dr. Light dies, and X is found in this pod by Dr. Kane, who discovers him, discovers like intelligent, artificial intelligence. So he copies X. He uses X to copy artificial intelligence into other robots called Reploids, and all of the games take place in a future where living amongst Reploids is commonplace. So that being the background, the main point of the main conflict of most of the games is that there is tension between Reploids and humans, because Reploids, being able to think on their own, can go maverick, as it is called. And these mavericks either want to kill humans or enslave them or whatever. So X works as part of the Maverick Hunters, which is a group that is dead set on hunting down and neutralizing mavericks. Like I said before, Collection 1's got X 1 through 4. Collection 2 has X 5 through 8. So there you go. Going into this, like, I absolutely was super like hyped to find out that this game that was coming out. I absolutely love Mega Man X. The first and fourth games in particular are some of my favorite video games of all time. I hadn't played 7 or 8 before, so I was really happy to like get a chance to, pick them up and try them out for the first time. Granted, this is a collection of games ported to the Switch, so I will be reviewing it, and I'll be giving a score like based on 1 to 5, my port review. But I will, since I am very familiar with the games, and you probably are not, I'm going to be giving a kind of a review and overview of the games themselves, on the off chance that you're just picking this up as an actual game to play instead of a collection of games that you already know. So, the gameplay itself is similar to that of the regular Mega Man series. You have for the most part, you have a blaster. You can run and gun. But this time you have a couple new abilities. One, you can kick off the wall and climb up it by repeatedly kicking off the wall. And you can press a button to do a dash, which is like an improvement off of the slide technique. So when you're playing as X, at least, there's different characters later on in the game. When you're playing as X, there's kind of this bread and butter technique of holding the charge button down to charge up your Buster, and then dashing around and jumping and dash jumping off walls to avoid enemies' attacks in order to blast them and make your way through the game. So you can play as X in all 8 of these. In 4 through 8, Zero, X's closest friend and ally, becomes a fully playable character through the entirety of those games, and he uses various sword saber techniques. He's basically got a lightsaber called a Z saber. He fights with that. 7 and 8 introduce Axel, who can fire in any direction and who can also temporarily transform into enemies to perform various actions and whatnot. In each and every one of these games, there are 8 bosses. Each of them have a stage and then a boss battle at the end of it. And what you do is you start the game, you go through the intro stage, and then you get 8 bosses. You can pick between any one of them to fight, and you pick one, you go through there, you beat the boss, you get that boss's weapon. That boss's weapon is super effective against one of the other bosses, so that'll make it easier to fight another boss. And then there's this kind of circular thing until you beat all 8 bosses. Then it unlocks the final levels. You go through 2 or 3 of those, then you fight the final boss, and then you beat the game. This game has more stuff in it. It introduces more exploration. Some of the later Mega Man games had it as well, but this game really expands on the concept of like running around and exploring areas and solving mini puzzles to figure out, oh, I can break this wall with this power up or whatever. And you can get extra heart containers to permanently increase your life. You can get uh, energy tanks, which you can fill up with extra energy and then use later to give yourself a heal. And then you also find, if you're playing as X, capsules, which there are usually 4 scattered throughout a game, and each of them contains an armor part, which allows you to upgrade your abilities. So yeah, that's the long and short of it. All 8 games follow that general formula. So in particular, with this gameplay, 1 through 4 are really solid. Like they're really well made, really well designed. 5 is pretty good. You can tell the cracks are starting to show. 6, you're like it's starting to get rough, and you're like, oh, this is not well designed. 7 and 8, I were just dreadful. I did not have a good I did not have a good time with 7 and 8. 6, I had not a lot of fun either. And that's going to be a running theme throughout this whole thing. 1 through 4 are like the good ones. 5 is like, oh, you're starting to run out of ideas. 6 is, what the heck is this? 7 and 8 are, really, what the heck is this? So, gameplay aside, onto the story. If I'm being perfectly honest with the story, I don't really care about the story. It's all about the gameplay for me, and the story really takes a backseat for most of the games. It's really only hinted at. Like, if you play the first game, even if you read like the opening crawl of exactly what's going on, you're still gonna be confused exactly like, okay, why are we fighting these guys? Like I get that they're evil and they want to kill humans, but like why are we fighting these guys right now? Why are we like finding the final boss's hideout and then like doing that? And it just gets, yeah, it's like you really have to dig if you want to find out what the story is. X4, it starts really coming to the surface and like spelling it out. This is what's going on. This is why you're fighting this guy. This is like this is like what's happening behind the scenes, that sort of thing. Um, but like again, as the games go on, the stories just like get really weird and like rough around the edges. I remember in X6 specifically, there's like a Maverick virus going around making people turn Maverick slowly. And like you literally just go to people and then they're like, you Maverick hunters just like to kill people. Like you just use kill robots. You just use your title as an excuse. And then you're like, you must be affected by the Maverick virus, and then you kill them, and then you're like, what the heck? Am I the bad guy? But it's like never touched on. So that's weird. Um, but yeah, so the story I don't really care for. It is interesting, like the concept is interesting, but the presentation is kind of like whatever. Interestingly though, From what I understand, the main director of the series planned to end it after X5. And you can kind of see this. There is like a clear stopping point. Like there's a very um big sense of finality in X5. There's a really big battle at the end. Characters end up in certain places where you're like, dang, like this is it, you know? Where do you go from here? And then he meant to start it out with the Mega Man Zero series. But then the Capcom, I guess, was just like, no, we want more Mega Man X games. They sold well or something, and they made Mega Man X 6, 7, and 8. So now like they had to like retcon. Like it gets weird. You can definitely tell that X5 was like, okay, this is the last one, and then X 6 and 7 and 8 were just them trying to poop out more games, to capitalize on the franchise. And it really shows, and honestly, it makes me sad. Like I wish it was just, I wish this game was like just Mega Man X Legacy Collection, and it just had 1 through 5. Like I think that would be much much better. But whatever. In any case, onto the graphics and the art style. I don't know if I'm just old fashioned or what. I grew up with like NES and SNES games, but I really love like the 16-bit sprite work, pixel sprite work in Mega Man 1 through 3. Like I don't know, I just have a really soft spot, big soft spot for it. So I don't. I might just be biased, but like I think it looks really good considering. Um, 4 through 6 are in like 32-bit sprite work, so like PlayStation 1 era of like, still pixelated, but does not look as obviously pixelated, if that makes sense. The art design there is good too, but like to me, 7 and 8 look absolutely butt ugly. 7 and 8 were the only two games in the franchise to have 3D graphics, and it was back in that awkward time when people thought, oh, 3D graphics are just better than 2D graphics always. And it was like, it's really blocky, and I don't think it looks good at all. I wish they would have just kept it with the sprite work. 7 tries to do this like 3D environment where you can move, and it just does not work. I wish they would have just kept them all sprite work, you know? I mean, the original Mega Man kind of like realized this. I believe 9 and 10 went back to 8-bit just to be, kind of true to the series roots, and I think that's great. Um, yeah, so on to music. I say this every time. I'm not much of a music guy, but these games, like the first three titles, the official soundtracks, absolute bangers, man. I don't know if it's just nostalgia or what, but like in those three games, it makes this like heavy use of this synthesized like electric guitar, and I love it so much. In all the ranges, like there are really low ones that feel so like impactful and motivating, and then there's like really high squealing ones that sound really high energy, and yeah, I don't know. I'm not a music guy. Again, I don't have good words to describe all of this, but one term I coined, or I think I coined, that I like to use is that these games have foreground music. Usually games have background music. These games have foreground music. You spawn in, you beam down into the level, and then the music just greets you with just blazes to the forefront, and then really sets the tone for the level, makes you feel great, makes the game that much more enjoyable to play. So enough about the games 1 through 3. 4, I like 4 as well, but as the theme has shown, as the pattern shown, 5 is good, 6 not so good, 7 and 8 I don't even remember any of the tracks from 7 and 8. I remember some of the tracks from 6 from just being annoying. Um yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they just do not appeal to me. So, that's me talking about the games. How have they been ported to the Switch? Uh everything in these games plays as it should, just as I remember. Controls are responsive as ever. I think at least I haven't noticed anything like that. They just adapted the controls so it like matches the Switch. I especially like playing the first three games with like the SNES controller that came with Nintendo Switch Online, or you could buy if you have Nintendo Switch Online. That I thought was cool. I played it with that, so I like replicate the original feel of the first three on the SNES. But so that's good. Everything's moved over, no problem. They actually, I think, leveraged the CPU of the Switch to try to reduce slowdown in some of the older like games when there was too much on screen. The frame rate would drop. But yeah, further than that, like they went in to translate some of um the uh the games better, I guess. I remember in X5, I believe, 5 or 6, there is a boss in the game who is based off of a whale, and his name is Duff McWhalen, which I have no idea how they got it from. But if you look it up in the in the manual, it says his name is Title McGowan of like some Japanese. So like they have translated it um in the manual, and they took big liberties in the game. I have no idea why they did that, but in this game, it's just called Tidal Whale, which is like probably a much better translation. I didn't check the original Japanese name, but like, come on, Duff McWhalen. So I really appreciate that they went in to actually like show some love to these games and either translate it here or make sure they pulled from a version that was translated properly. Um, yeah, so there's also like extras, of course, outside the game. There's achievements for you to get in the game. There's like a bunch of like there's like a dozen for each game or more, so that's pretty cool. There is an X challenge mode, which I really appreciated. I had some fun playing around with it. I didn't dive too far into it. But what you do is you play as X with really strong armor, and you can bring in, I think, four different powers from across X1 through 4. Or a challenge mode might be through X1 through 6. But anyway, you go in and you fight two bosses at the same time. So that's cool. So it really it remixes like the past boss fights by making you fight both of them at the same time and try to figure out and do as well as you can to beat both of them at the same time. So you got to figure out, okay, which one I can only bring in so many weapons. Do I bring in ones that are super effective against some of them, or super against some of the other ones? Do I go for ones that have general utility? And yeah, it was really fun trying to play through some of those, but I didn't do it as much, so my opinion may not be the most informed on that. They do have online leaderboards for that as well, so that's cool. They have like the X Art archives where it's just a museum full of like concept art and promotional art from the past, from the game. So that's also awesome. They added different filters to play it in. You can make like the games pixel perfect, so you can see each individual pixel as a square. Smooth graphics, where they try to smooth out like all the pixels to try to make them blend better. They have like you can put CRT lines on the TV if you really want. I would recommend playing it without the CRT lines and in pixel perfect mode. That's why I think it looks the best, but that might just be nostalgia. I appreciate the options you have here. And also on the first one, they have the Day of Sigma prequel film, which is like an anime mini movie that kind of shows the events before the first Mega Man X. And that is greatly appreciated because, like I said before in the story section, it's really hard to follow what's going on. So, like, having like a 20-30 minute video or something that shows this is like what happened when Sigma, the final boss of the series, of each game of the series, like goes Maverick and who defects with them, and like X and Zero struggles and their ideologies. It was really cool to I would recommend watching it before playing the first game if you want some context as to what exactly is going on. But yeah, so that's I think it for all the extra content. DLC wise, there is no DLC, so don't have to worry about that. So as for my conclusion here, remember I am putting it on a 5 scale, 3 being you ported the games and nothing else. 5 being you did an absolute great job. 1 being these are pretty much unplayable. Um, yeah, given how well this did at bringing the games over to Switch, fixing them up to make them nicer, fixing those translation issues, giving extra content and extra gameplay as a reason to buy it, even if you've played all these games before, I am giving this one a 5 out of 5 as a port. It This is the definitive way to play Mega Man X 1 through 8. And you can play them on the go on the Switch. So I recommend even that, like getting it for Switch versus any other platform. I'm very satisfied with what they've done here. These games, I think, are very much a slice of video game history. Kind of, if you fancy yourself a video game historian or connoisseur or whatever, I very much think these are games that you should try out. It's a good thing to have in your collection as well. Um, but if you're like playing this or looking to play these games as someone that's like, okay, I just want to play a good game, I would recommend the first one. X1 through 4, as I have said ad nauseum, are the good ones. Every single one of those games, I think, is has really good level design, and is a really well made game. I'm gonna give it a special shout out to X1 for its intro level, teaching you everything you need to know about the game without giving you a single line of tutorial, teaching you how to play the game, and also to the entirety of X4 for having one singular, like all the boss fights are the same, all the levels are designed the same, but you can play through the entirety of it with X or the entirety with 0, and with minimal changes of the story, um, you have the same gameplay experience. And none of the bosses feel like impossible to beat with 0 or impossible to beat with X or super easy to beat with X or super easy to beat with 0. Really, all the levels somehow are very well designed for someone that uses a blaster and someone that uses a saber. And I think that's amazing. But yeah, X1 and through 4, great. Pick it up. Pick Legacy Collection up 1. Legacy Collection 1 up. But I don't know, man. I picked it up for completionist sake and because it was bundled in, but like X5 through 8, those are some rough games, man. I'd say if you're just looking for games to play, give those a pass. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. But yeah, that's it for my review. Let me know what did you guys think? Is this something that is worth picking up if you played the game before? Have I said anything that you think is a bad take? Have I missed anything? If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, put them in the comments below. I read all my comments. But in any case, thanks for watching my review, and have a wonderful day. Bye.